I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, and I was in the military for 21 years. And my last job was a special duty assignment where I was in the Air Force and I worked with the Secret Service. And every summer we would, the end of the summer, we would go to Manhattan and help with the security communications, communication security for the UN General Assembly. And the last year of my career, I was supposed to go on that trip, and I had a job interview because I was about to retire. So my boss asked me if I wanted to go, and I chose not to. So I was supposed to be there for 9/11, and I wasn't. But I was part of a team when one of the towers went down. The communication antenna for the entire southern Manhattan was on the top of one of those towers. So all federal communication was out. So I was part of a team that went in to reestablish communications for that part of Manhattan and the greater metro area. So the first one, well, I'm just going to read the first one. It's called The Hill. On one clean, crisp Saturday afternoon in the fall of 1974, my little brother Clay, our friend Mike, and I walked to the hill. I was 12, Clay and Mike were 11, so the 5-mile hike from the projects was nothing. We walked, then we went bang. We walked by the train tracks, through the woods, across a field of weeds, grass, and gopher holes that seemed to go on forever. Once we'd crossed the field, we came to the bottom of a hill that was taller than Mount Everest. At the top of the hill was an electrical tower that pierced the sky. We scaled the steep hill, sat at the top, and caught our breath. While resting at the base of the tower, we could see forever. On a clear day, we could see Manhattan from the Twin Towers all the way uptown. Once we'd rested, we'd run down. The hill was mostly made of sand, but there were patches of hard earth and rock here and there. We never thought about the rocks. We just ran. Not fast, not at first. We'd take a few steps, then speed up. Eventually, Newton's laws would take over. The grade was so steep that we had no choice but to go faster. Gravity would pump our legs faster and faster until we'd stumble and tumble and roll and roll and roll until we reached the bottom and landed in a heap. Bruised, battered, invincible. I don't know how many times. Then we'd trek up that hill and do it again. I don't know how many times we made that hike, climbed that hill, and risked life and limb for a few seconds of immortality. I do know that through all those runs, we never hit a rock. Has America been running down a hill? Did we stumble and tumble and roll? On September 11th, 2001, did we finally hit one of those rocks? All right, the second one is called the Battery Tunnel. It was September 18th, 2001. I'd landed at JFK 2 days prior and was on my way to one of the many sites we were providing communication support for in the metro area. I was driving a government vehicle, a G-Ride. Mark was in the passenger seat and Country was in the back. The G-Ride was a big black Suburban with darkened windows, a souped-up engine, and lights and sirens. We took the Battery Tunnel out of New York City. We showed our credentials to one of the heavily armed National Guardsmen at each of the 4 checkpoints that led to the entrance of the tunnel. We'd been in the tunnel for less than a minute when I realized that we were the only vehicle in a 1.7-mile tube under the earth. We were alone. I'd been in several of the city's tunnels, and they were almost always filled to the brim with cars either cruising 5 miles over the speed limit or idling bumper to bumper. Country said something, but I couldn't hear him over the silence. Mark said nothing. Country stopped talking. After a few minutes, Country said, "Blue, hit the lights." I flipped two switches. Red and blue hues bounced off the walls and illuminated a vast throat of emptiness as oscillating wails reverberated all the way from Manhattan to Brooklyn. I switched them off as fast as I could. We rode the rest of the way in silence. This last one is called Granite. The towers had fallen, so had Building 7. Bulldozers had cleared a path to place cranes and grant access to dump trucks. The trucks would drive in and the cranes would fill them with debris. The trucks took the debris to a massive landfill in Staten Island. The landfill had been sectioned and cordoned off into areas. Tower 2, Tower 1, Building 7, vehicles. The area was with the vehicles always stole my focus. Every now and then I had to touch a fire truck, police car, or an ambulance, just to make sure I wasn't trapped in someone else's nightmare. They all had numbers spray painted on them. 14E in black on a white ambulance. 47B on the door of a crushed black and white. 27C in neon yellow on a flattened red fire truck that looked like a petulant child of a titan had crumpled, stomped on, and kicked aside. The areas for the buildings were separated into two sections, one for new debris, the other for debris that had been checked. The areas with the new debris were filled with people wearing white hooded bodysuits, blue latex gloves, and respirators. They were using rakes to sift through the rubble for human remains. I'd worked in Building 7 more times than I can count. I asked the agent in charge if I could take a piece of granite from the facade of the check pile. He told me it would be no problem. I still have that piece. I still have that piece. Sometimes I touch it. It amplifies the pain. It eases the pain. It reminds me I am still alive.